Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Grace Rogers, and today I will be talking about the Eleanor Clark Slagle lecture from 2019 that was given by Dr. Ellen Cohn about asserting our competence and affirming the value of occupation with confidence. So we're going to talk about competence and confidence today. Dr. Cohn starts off her lecture with a quote from Eleanor Clark Slagle that says, "Stand up and face them, don't hang back." And I think that really sets the background tone for this entire lecture. As future occupational therapists, we need to be compelled to advocate and encourage others in our profession to advocate for the value of occupational therapy. So she starts off talking about the meaning and the importance of occupations. I think we often take our ability to do our daily routines for granted, and it's when they are no longer easy to do or possible to do that we come to appreciate them. So, it's that day that you can't brush your teeth and you can't have that clean mouth feeling all day, and it just kind of frustrates you. So one key takeaway that Dr. Cohn emphasizes throughout this lecture is that when we enable others to do the ordinary, we are doing the extraordinary. And I think that's really inspiring and really important as future practitioners for us to keep in mind that, washing your face and brushing your teeth, those sometimes may seem like ordinary activities, but for someone who can't do that on their own, to be able to do that on their own again is extraordinary. So we are doing something awesome as occupational therapists. Day Chardon has a quote that I just love. It says, "What matters is not to do remarkable things, but to do ordinary things with conviction so that their value is so enormous." And that just reemphasizes when we're doing the ordinary, it's actually extraordinary. So that first C word, competence, comes from the word competere, which means strive after something in company with. It's our commitment to our clients. So getting invested in their lives and building a relationship with them so that we can truly understand what is meaningful to them, because that's how we are going to be the most beneficial to them. We have to be able to communicate with them and listen to them to figure out what's important and what we need to focus on going forward. So the current reforms to the U.S. healthcare system that emphasize value-based care provides an opportunity for occupational therapy practitioners to highlight our competence. So healthcare and rehab now value well-being, function, participation, and client-centeredness is now valued and even viewed as an outcome and a means to improve health. So that's really a great thing for occupational therapy. The Improving Medicare Post-Acute Care Transformation Act views both physical and psychosocial function as the definition for value and quality. And that used to be minutes, hours, days that were viewed as value and quality. And so it's really great that we're really looking at functional outcomes as the measure for value and quality. So I know in other classes we've talked about this Rogers article. It's titled, "Higher Hospital Spending on Occupational Therapy is Associated with Lower Readmission Rates." So in this research study, they concluded that occupational therapy is the only spending category in the entire hospital where additional spending has a statistically significant association with lower readmission rates for heart failure, pneumonia, and acute myocardial infarction. So occupational therapy is the only one that statistically improved or decreased the readmission rates for those three diagnoses. That's huge. So if you haven't read this article yet, I highly encourage you to give it a look. It's really fascinating and directly proves the importance of our profession in that setting. And so I will try to attach that as a resource for y'all with this video. So that next word is confidence, which comes from the word confidere, which means to have full trust or reliance. And Dr. Cohn also adds the definition, striving to master a challenge. So we have to take action to communicate the value of our profession. We have to have full trust or reliance, full trust that our occupation is important, and we have to take action on that. When it comes to striving to master a challenge, no one does that perfectly in any challenge. You are going to make mistakes. You're going to get some questions wrong. So we have to learn to embrace our struggles, and that shows that it's possible to make progress without being perfect on the first try. I think that's really important for us to know as practitioners, and to instill it in our practice, but also it's important for our clients to know that too. So when they, want to fix something, we may not fix it, with one occupational therapy intervention session. Need to remind them that it is a process and you will make mistakes. And so I think if we practice that in our own lives, it'll be easier to translate that to our clients' lives as well. Dr. Cohn says, a consequence of limited confidence is inaction. And that is something you really need to think about. If we are always seeking perfection, we are actually inhibiting our confidence, and that keeps us from action. If we are constantly seeking the perfect description of occupation, we will never be fully confident because the bar will always be too high. It's important to remember that occupation has different meanings for everyone, which means that there is no perfect definition. So it's not even worth trying to find the perfect definition. An occupation for one client might not be important to another client. So the goal is to get to know the patient and find out what occupations are important to them. Having confidence in your foundation and your impact is equally as important as competence when it comes to interacting with your clients or promoting the profession. They are equally important. It's not just having those skills. I know sometimes we get hung up on trying to do everything perfectly and knowing exactly what to do in every situation, but having confidence in what you've been taught, your foundation, your ability to form relationships with your clients and find out what's important to them, that is equally as important as the competence aspect. And you will build competence through your confidence as you continue as an occupational therapy practitioner. To tie these two concepts together, Dr. Cohn tells a story about an occupational therapist named Caitlin who developed a program in a primary care setting for people experiencing homelessness. She was working in an inpatient setting, and she saw that when patients were being discharged, it became really difficult for the people who were homeless. And so people being discharged without shelter or the resources to support change in these clients' lives, they were not seeing the same improvements as other clients. So she had a friend who was a social worker, and she worked with that person to incorporate occupational therapy into an outpatient health center. So she convinced her boss to allow her to offer some outpatient occupational therapy services. And she ran into one big problem, which was the risk of trying to make a schedule with these clients was pretty risky, because if the patients didn't show up, she might not get her productivity requirements, and that's important for billable hours. So, with this population, finding transportation is difficult, and for many other reasons, the clients may not show up that day, and so that was really risky. So Caitlin stepped out of her comfort zone of reliable billable hours because she saw a need in the community and she knew that she could help. And just to let you know, the program was successful, and it is still running today. But something else that her story brings us back to is a point that we've mentioned in so many classes, is that you absolutely cannot separate occupation from the client's environment. They influence each other. That's why we do an occupational profile and an activity analysis with each client. We can look at the client's barriers to occupational performance and find out where to intervene. So it's really important, these clients that she wanted to work with, their environment inhibited their ability to improve their condition. And so she saw the need for that, went out of her comfort zone, used her competence and confidence, and intervened and was successful. So we have a commitment, Dr. Cohn reminds us, to our clients, to ourselves, and to all those that we meet. Our actions and our words will both maintain and extend our competence. So from my own personal experience, I think people don't understand the meaning of the word occupation. For example, I was at Trader Joe's 2 days ago, and the man checking me out said his wife worked at UTHSC. And I had said I was a student there, and I was like, oh, so he knows, what occupational therapy is, how exciting. And he was asking me all about virtual learning and all of that. And, when I was on my way out, he goes, okay, so if I ever need a new job, I can come to you and you can tell me whether to take it or not. And I was like, oh no, elevator speech. It's all around us all the time, and we always have an opportunity to advocate for our profession. And so we really have to get our elevator speeches down so that, we can whip them out at any moment and not lose our audience's attention. So keep it concise and relevant. If you remember back to foundations, when we did our first elevator speeches, they were a little rusty. So I think now that we have been in school for a while, I think we can probably give a better elevator speech than we could when we first started in the program. So at the end of this lecture, I have a Google Forms quiz that I want you to fill out. And one of the questions is to summarize what occupational therapy means to you in 2 to 3 sentences. So be thinking about that. And the other question is about setting a goal for yourself about how you will step out of your comfort zone while on level 2. I think this is good practice, just stepping out of that comfort zone to prepare us to be practitioners who are prepared to step out of our comfort zone. This whole lecture kind of hits on the concept that you have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to make progress. So part of that is being confident in your abilities and showing that. So personally, I like to be 100% certain that whatever is about to come out of my mouth is correct. And if I have any doubt in my mind that the answer isn't the right answer, I don't say anything. And I know now that if I just hang back and sit tight and have the answers given to me all the time, I'm not really learning. So my goal for level 2 fieldwork is to speak up and ask questions at least 3 times each day. And I might revise that once I get into it based on what my site looks like, but that's the basis: either asking a question, answering a question, making a suggestion, something like that. So now I want y'all to pull up that Google Forms quiz and answer those 2 questions. And I really appreciate y'all watching. Thank you.